everyone, welcome back to another video and another repair. So what I'm going to be looking at in this one is replacing the alternator with a new one. So that squeal that is caused by load being put on the alternator can be caused by a few different issues. Some very easy to fix, some take a bit more. So I'm first going to go over what can cause that squeak very briefly. The most common reason for the squeal is the belt here, and it is by it being loose. So either the belt has stretched because it's old, or it's perishing, or it's come loose because the alternator has slipped slightly. And it can be simply replaced by tightening the alternator and the belt, and that's job done. Or replacing it if it needs replaced. They're only a few poundies, so it's worth doing quite regularly anyway. So you can check this. This needs a deflection of 13mm from top to bottom at its longest point. So here I've checked this and it's fine, it's spot on, so I know that the belt's not loose. Another way to check it is to put the engine on, switch all the powers on that you can, and if it's idling and making the squeaking noise, it's a good indication that the belt is loose. Other things that cause it: these pulleys, the one for the alternator, the one for the water pump, and the one down the back that goes onto the crank, basically have to all line up precisely straight. If any one of them is slightly off, the belt will be running at an angle and it'll cause it to catch and it'll cause it to squeal. Now this just started happening on mine, so I know that's not the case, and it's lined up fairly well, as you'll see from that. Which then leads me to the alternator. This was going to be replaced anyway because it just doesn't look good, and the squeal is being caused by the bearings starting to fail inside the alternator. So I've decided to go for an uprated alternator, just for running stereos and anything else I want to add. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to just go over the procedure on how to replace this. It's definitely a DIY job, it's definitely one you can do at home. You just need a few spanners and to take the grill off. With the grill off, you can see more detail here. So the belt goes round here. I need to take off 4 bolts to get this alternator off, or 3 bolts in an electrical connection at least. First bolt here, which attaches to the bracket here, and that pivots the alternator and allows it to be adjusted for the tension of this belt. 2 bolts at the top, one here and one here, come off. This one here can be important because a spacer or washer here can be used to get this alignment of all the different pulleys lined up if needed. And finally, the electrical connection. So what I'm going to start with is this here, but before I touch it, obviously I'm going to disconnect the battery. With the battery disconnected, this can now come out because it's safe. So metal retaining clip, easier with a screwdriver but can be done by hand. Swings to the side, and then this can be pulled out. Can be quite tight. Next I'm going to move on to the bracket underneath and undo that. This is a 1/2 inch. There we go. Might need a little tap to try and get it loose if it's corroded in here. But I'm going to now move on to the top two, because once these two are loosened off up the top, it'll then pivot and it'll hopefully free this part here. These and these are also 1/2 inch, so it makes it simple, all the one spanner. And it will turn on the other side, so you need to, just to get it started at least. So undo that one. You can see it's a tight space. Once the belt's off, it will come out. Gives me a little opportunity while it's out just to give it a little clean up here before I put the new one back in. So here's the new alternator, just like for like. This one's slightly uprated as I mentioned, and I opted for a bit more expensive one. I didn't want to go cheap and unreliable, as I've learnt from past mistakes. So I'm going to get this fitted to the Mini the same way that the other one came off. Does have this bolt here, however it doesn't have this one, so I'm going to need to clean up the last one to put on here. So the area has been given a quick clean up and the new belt's been put on. I just now need to get the new alternator in here. Right, so now I just need to get this alternator back in place. What I did have to do, which I wasn't expecting, was this dowel joint in here was out this side, so I've always had to knock it across, and this must be just to help with the spacing of the alternator. So I'm going to offer it up and see how it fits, get the screws lined up loosely, and hopefully it's all going to go back as easy as it came off. So it's important that these pulleys all line up, otherwise you're going to get a squeak and it's going to start putting additional wear on the water pump pulley. There's a slight gap here at the moment, but when I tighten this down I'm hoping this will pull it across into alignment. So let's get this tightened up. I'm not tightening it too much because I still want it to pivot so I can get the belt on. It's this part where if you've got an extra set of hands it really helps, because you get somebody to hold the alternator tight while you tighten up the bolts, but my little helper isn't here at the moment. So finger tight just now. I'm then going to put this bolt back in here, and then we need to look at this back bolt here to get the adjustment so we can get the belt on and tensioned up correctly. So we've got this bolt on. It's now this one at the back that's a bit more awkward to get in with a socket and extension. Loosen this off, allows that to pivot, gets this over here, and they can all be tensioned up. I'm going to go and do that off camera because there's nowhere to put the camera for you to get a good view of this, and I'll come back once I've got all this in place. So with that one loosened, you can see it allows the alternator to pivot all the way up and down, all the way down, and then the belt comes over here. What you need to make sure is the belt is fully over the water pump pulley on the top and the crank pulley down here. And again, there's no access for the camera, so I'm going to go and do this off camera and get it tightened up, and I will come back. So I've tightened up all the bolts, the electrical lead is back in, and the tension, which is measured halfway under here, just with your finger, is spot on, so I'm really happy with that. Just need to get him started up now and see if he's running without a squeal. Before I do that, have a little look here. You can see that sticker there, tells you the date, 1986. So yeah, it's definitely had its life's worth here. Perfect. So I'm obviously going to take him for a drive, see how he's running, and that'll be that. Quick, simple, easy and relatively cheap fix. That's how you replace the alternator on a Mini. So yeah, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers!